This show is dedicated to the memory of Marius Zaliukas. Hello everyone and welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name's David Edgar. I am your host as always, and joining me this week are two fantastic fellows from the Heart and Hand universe. First of all, the splendid Mr. Ian Hogg.
Good evening, mate. Pleasure to be back on the flagship.
And the wonderful Mr. Andy McGowan.
Hi David, hi listeners.
Well, folks, it's so much to talk about, but before we get started, I think that we should pay tribute to Marius Zaliukas, who tragically passed away at the shockingly young age of 36 at the weekend. Of course, he played for Rangers in season 2014-15, not a season that many people will look back on with much fondness, it's fair to say. However, he'll be better known in Scottish football for his role as Hearts captain, and in fact captaining them to Scottish Cup success in his time with the Edinburgh club. 36 is no age at all, Andy, for someone to be passing away.
Nah, I mean, you used the word shocking. It's shocking. It's shocking because we didn't really know that he was ill. I still don't think we know the full details, but 36 with a family, a wife left behind. It's absolutely tragic, and it just doesn't bear thinking about.
Now we send our best wishes and condolences to everyone who knew him. Unfortunately, there's no real easy way to transition then into the events of the last few days, but we're going to have to just do that, sadly. But let's start off with the news that broke this morning by Rangers, which was good. At least that it was Rangers who were very much out in front of it. That two players had been suspended after breaching COVID protocols attending a party, which was broken up by the police, and the two players, Jones and Edmondson and Jordan Jones, were issued with on-the-spot fines for breaching COVID regulations. Rangers this morning announced that both players had been suspended pending an investigation and will go into isolation for the required 14-day period. My first reaction, Ian, was I was annoyed and a little bit angry, but it's actually got worse as the day's gone on, because were these two just going to swan into training on I think it's Wednesday they're back, and not say a bloody word and potentially put at risk Rangers' entire season?
So that's exactly what they were going to do, David. It's not. I'm sure the players will come out and they'll be full of remorse and they'll be ever so sorry and all the rest of it. What they really mean is they were sorry they were caught, because they chose to break protocol. They chose to go to a party, and let's not beat about the bush, right? In a season that started so well, what's that now? 18 games, 16 wins, 2 draws and 15 clean sheets. It's extraordinary, the record so far. When I was in my 20s, David, I did, as you will attest, I did lots of things wrong. Never did it out of badness, of course, but the badness doesn't, the intent doesn't really matter. It's all about the outcomes. This pair went out, they decided to break protocol, and they decided to put Rangers' season in jeopardy. Now, frankly, they were caught by the cops. If they're not caught by the cops, they swan into training. And then Christ knows where we are. You know, we're probably pitching up against Hamilton, having to play the under-18s. George Edmondson and Jordan Jones deserve everything the club throw at them. Now, I won't be a hypocrite about this, David. I'm glad that if there was two players it was going to be, I'm glad it's this pair and not, Alan McGregor and Connor Goldson, for example. But the club, I think, have to lay down a marker. They've got to hammer them, and they've got to send out a message, both to Scottish football that we're dealing with it, but to the rest of the squad that it simply will not be tolerated.
I don't think that we have to worry about the desire of the club to do that, because I think the club are understandably raging, because everyone at the club, is making sacrifices to be able to keep playing and to be able to keep this going, in the same way that everyone in the nation is making sacrifices at the moment. And this, it's very difficult to look over it because you can't accidentally attend a party. Right, this was not. They didn't take a wrong turn in the house and go, "Oh my God, a party." You've made this decision, and you can't claim you don't know that you're not allowed to do it. So there was a knowledge, and they decided that they were going to go ahead and big fat do it anyway. And Ian touched upon we've all got a past, and he's right. We've all got a past, and we've all done things in the past that we regret. My 20s were a car crash, and one of my kind of stock defence lines when I got in bother for the things I did was, I never meant any harm. And I didn't, but I caused harm. And that's the problem. Actions have consequences, and they are finding that out at the moment. I also don't really like this kind of, daft boy argument. Jordan Jones is 27 years old. I don't think you can play that card.
Absolutely no. I mean, the fury directed towards these two players is clear to see. You just need a kind of glimpse on Twitter. I was kind of resigned to the fact that we would inevitably be affected by COVID this season. I think it was. I don't think there'll be any club in the country that isn't touched by it in some form. I didn't think this would be the way, and it's really, really. I mean, disappointment's an understatement because when you put it in terms of what Hoggy said, which is that we've worked so hard and we've achieved so much so far, and it's so promising, for that to be undermined and potentially scuppered completely by two arses because they wanted to go to a party, it's just unforgivable. The club have acted well so far because they've kept it quiet, right? Because this could have been a ball and goalie situation where the story was running ahead of Celtic at that point in time. I think what needs to happen now is that I think we don't need to make a drama out of a crisis, to paraphrase an old advert used to be on the TV. I think we need to deal with it, get it done with, and move on. I understand why fans are crying for these two to be sacked. I would be flabbergasted if they're sacked because they're assets to the club, maybe not in the part just now, but they are in the balance sheet. And if they're to be punished, then punish them, put them out the squad, and sell them in January or get them out on loan in January. I think the message will be crystal clear because I would not like to be the person. I wouldn't like to be one of the two facing up to Steven Gerrard. I just would not want to be there. Jones has pissed his career away because he got a second chance. So first of all, what I should say is I've been a big advocate of Jordan Jones because I think on the park he's an asset. I've seen him against Michelin, I've seen a glimpse against Motherwell, and I've always said that there's something there and we could use him as a squad player at the very least. And we've obviously not seen what's happening in terms of his attitude in the training field because there's been something that has put Gerrard off him. And he's managed to get himself back in the fray, and he's done this. The mind boggles. And as you say, Davey, we all think him as a youngster. He's 27. So, hell mend him. Edmondson, I have a sneaky suspicion that he may have blotted his copybook for the first time, and that might stand him in some decent stead, and you might see him actually get a reprieve in the longer term. But short term, the two of them are minced. It's just unbelievable.
A defence I've seen put forward, Ian, although by very few, and possibly just contrarian behaviour, but it's to say, would you be saying that they should never play again if it was Alfie and Borna? No, I wouldn't. But let's deal with reality here rather than absolute moralism. We all know how it works. We all know that extremely talented players will get away with a bit more than guys that you don't think that are vital to the club. So let's park that. That's to me just a philosophical debate. It's a case of, firstly, Alfie and Borna didn't do this. We're not talking about them. So creating this hypothetical is pointless. And secondly, apart from being irrelevant, we all know the reality of football, surely.
Yeah, that's why I said earlier, if it was Goldson and McGregor, for example, I might be treating it differently. In fact, I know I would, so that makes me a hypocrite. However, you're right. The fact of the matter is it's two fringe players. One who I'm amazed is still at the club because he's had that many chances and seems to want to piss it up a wall. For me, Jones will be gone in January, one would imagine. And the other one, Edmondson, he's at a club where currently he is the fourth choice centre back. When Katic comes back, he'll be fifth choice. But he loves it and he's reveling in it and he's growing and he's becoming a better player. And again, potentially pisses it up against the wall. It beggars belief for me, David, that you've got the likes of Jordan Jones making all the noises about coming to his boyhood heroes, and seems to want to just press the self-destruct button time and time again. Similarly, Edmondson, he's at the biggest club he's ever going to be at, and they want to play the big one during to all intents a lockdown. You're not allowed to go to gatherings like that. Fuck it, I'm going to go. It beggars belief.
Yeah, it's the selfishness of it that I think really stings, because all the players that played yesterday and worked hard through the week to get the result on Thursday night, to put us into the position that we're in, and it could have all been risked by these two. And as you say, Ian, they did go, fuck it, I'm doing it anyway because I want to. So everybody else, fans, players, manager, staff, they didn't matter. They wanted to go to a party and that was the end of it. And like I say, I'm not being a hypocrite. I've done bad things in the past. I've made stupid mistakes, but I was punished for them. That's the thing. And they're going to have to go through that. In Jonesy's case, it will definitely cost him his Rangers career. In Edmondson's case, it will probably cost him his Rangers career. Because I don't know if there is any appetite among the club, Andy, to give him a second chance. They might, but I think that the feeling will be that this is such a massive breach of trust more than anything else that I'm not sure that they'll feel the need to.
If he does get a reprieve, and I'm talking about Edmondson here, then he's going to be one lucky boy. And if I had to put money on it, I don't know if I would. I don't see it. At this moment in time, it's very, very raw, and it's a capital crime right now. But when cooler heads prevail and you actually get a bit of perspective and a bit of time passes, at that point you might see him given a wee bit of, I don't know if forgiveness is even the word, but Gerrard did things during his career that weren't spectacularly good, and it just so happens that COVID just puts a totally different angle on things. But we're talking about, quite rightly, Hoggy, you're saying I'm a hypocrite if you say, well, if it was Kent or McGregor or somebody like that, would you be saying the same thing? Absolutely no, but the greater good needs to be served here, and if it was Goldson, McGregor and Morelos Kent, the greater good would be to kick their arse and get them back in the team because we are a football club. The greater good with these two is to send a message to the rest of the squad, to be quite honest with you, because I don't think we'll miss them in terms of football. So, just unbelievable. I cannot believe these two have done this, and the repercussions will be on them fully, and it's only a blessing that they never came into the training ground or whatever. It's just beggars belief that they could have scuppered everything so willingly, and there's no defence.
I think that you're right. You mentioned, there are some things that are capital crimes. I think in football, among football people, letting down your teammates, that's the biggest one, letting down your teammates. And they did. They did hugely. So we'll need to see what happens. But I don't want to see either of them in a Ranger. They're not good enough to, in my opinion, to waste any energy on. And as I say, it was just such a selfish and knowing breach. And as I say, in Jones's case, he's a daft boy. He's 27 years of age, right? This is who he is. And unless he makes a conscious effort to change, this is who he's going to remain. He's also out, incidentally, in Northern Ireland's playoff. Now, that, doesn't matter to a lot of Rangers fans, but it matters a lot to people in his country. And there's a lot of Rangers fans in his country. But it just shows you he just didn't care. And the consequences are going to be really big for both. Moving on then to something a lot more positive. Now, on here we've been mentioning, as the good results have been piling up, that, we'll need the next test really to see if anything's changed will be Kilmarnock away. Now, in normal times, Kilmarnock away is a tough game, but let's not. It's not one we're looking forward to for weeks and weeks and weeks, Ian. But it's a recent record there is abysmal. Let's not sugarcoat it. It's terrible. Not only have we continually lost, but we've lost the same way of going a goal up and then making a complete arse of it and chucking it away. However, yesterday Rangers went to Rugby Park, and it maybe at times looked like it was following the script, because I thought Rangers were fantastic for 40 minutes, went off the boil for 20, and then in the last half hour, Kelly came at us. But where Rangers did flip the script was that they didn't cave in, they didn't go give away a silly goal, and they left with the 3 points. And it felt big, because the more of these small tests, and let's not kid ourselves, but the more of these small tests the players pass, then the more confident they'll be and more likely to keep passing them in the future.
Last 18 games against, not including yesterday, David, last 18 games since we returned to the top flight against Kilmarnock. And that's home and away. We've only won 7. We've drawn 6 and we've lost 5. And some of those draws and some of those losses, as you say, we were in the driving seat. So yesterday was an acid test. We said it straight after Parkhead, that all eyes on Rugby Park. And you're right, for half an hour, 35 minutes, whatever it was, we were sparkling. We just needed that second goal. The first one, total and utter brain fart by Ross Millen. And we get the penalty, great finish. We then kept on getting the ball out wide. We made some chances. Don't think we made loads of chances. Crossing was nowhere near what it's maybe been. And you're right, in the second half, it started to lapse into the we've seen this movie before routine. Now that's in the moment. I've watched only the highlights back, and I think, to be honest, yeah, they had the free kick, but they didn't really have much other than that, David. But of course, in the moment, Jesus Christ, it felt as if it was palpitation stuff at times, simply because you want it so much, and we've failed, frankly, against Kilmarnock so many times recently. So to get over the line, and then to see the manner of getting over the line, David, when the 3 minutes are held up and they don't create a chance, and we manage the game out, and the ball's down in the corner, and we're winning fouls and we're winning corners, and we're just seeing the game out. That's a Rangers that's night and day from the Rangers that we've seen at Rugby Park in recent times.
Andy, the manager with the team, sprung a couple of surprises. The first one for me, very attacking midfield, where he went Ryan Jack, but also Scott Arfield and Joe Rebo. And then up front, Cedric Etienne came in to play out on the right-hand side. And it worked very, very well, I thought, in the first half. Rangers were zipping it about as much as you can possibly zip it about on that pitch. And thoroughly deserved the lead, as Hoggy says. Stupid action from the defender, but we'll take it. Great penalty from Tav for his 10th goal of the season from right back, which is sensational. And it was just about, I think if we'd got the second, we'd probably actually gone on and won by a few, but we didn't. And then maybe it was the old scars or whatever in the second half. But there is a resoluteness about the side that we haven't always seen in the past.
I thought there was loads to be really positive about yesterday, and the word I would use is smarts. We seem to be getting smarter, and there's wee inches that are making a difference. And for example, at the free kick before the penalty, something I've been wanting to see for a long time, or more often, is both Tav and Barisic over the ball, because immediately their defence and their goalkeeper has a question to ask: is this going to be in swinger or out swinger? Because obviously right foot, left foot. And it was that movement for Tavernier that made the movement in the box before the ball was actually floated in. And who knows if that's the difference between Ross Millen losing his bearings and lifting his hand inexplicably or not. But either way, say wee things that making a difference. I noticed that there was a wee bit of shithousery. Tavernier, the ball goes out for our throw-in. They're chasing the game. He lets their player run after the ball. He then ignores him and goes for the ball that's sitting on the wee cone. So wee things like this. We're talking about managing the game. Wee things like that made a difference, but I really thought that I've used the word control when I've been on pods this season. I've said, look, we've basically controlled every game we've been in, and I don't mean we're controlling it in the traditional sense where you're passing the ball and players, teams aren't getting a look in. We're controlling it in the sense that these games are getting played in our terms, because what's traditionally happened, I don't know, forever, is that teams like Kilmarnock have allowed, or been able to get in our faces, get physical, make it their game and disrupt the way that we want to play. They came close to it in wee patches on Sunday, but they never really got into their way of playing. Likes of Dicker, Power, never seen them so quiet against their midfield. And that was because we were doing you're quite right, the first 40 minutes we were playing decent football, not really getting the reward in like the final third, but we were also very, very adept at playing it forward quicker, whether that was a diagonal for Goldson, whether it was a ball over the top for Inton to run onto. We're able to mix it up a wee bit. And we were getting joy for it because when these balls were going high and long, their centre-halves were having to drop. They were having to header the ball just for survival instinct. And we were getting our midfielders, particularly Arfield and Aribo, to press on to those drop balls. And I think we've seen a couple of shots for Arfield and Aribo that in another day, a wee bit more luck, would have had a couple of goals for them. So we're not a one-dimensional team by any manner of means. We've also got the squad now where we can mix it up because, as you say, we changed the midfield completely. We dropped Kamara, who's in the form of his life, or we rested him, I should say. And then you bring in Itten, which raised a few eyebrows. And I know that there's been a wee bit of split in terms of people's opinion, but I think it's totally ignorant to say that he did not contribute very, very much on Sunday. I thought he was brilliant for what he was doing because I like wide strikers because a wide striker gives an added dimension because both the fullback and the centre half have got to watch for somebody coming in at corner kicks or free kicks or cross balls. But more than that, I thought he was taking his man on. He had a couple of balls for the byline that were excellent. I think he should have scored twice because he got in central positions and was very unlucky. And overall, I think he's really, really promising. He looks the part. He's got the strength. He's got the touch. He's able to take men on. He's able to hold the ball up. I think his goals will come, and I think they'll more likely to come when he's in the central positions. But I thought overall on Sunday, it was a really, really good performance. And I think we should be walking away from there saying, we've kind of buried that. We've got to the stage where we don't need to worry about going to Rugby Park. We should have the measure of them going forward.
There is a fair argument, Ian, to say that at the moment we're relying a wee bit more on the defence and the front line. The front line hasn't really been firing as well as it might, but there's also the counter to that says, yeah, but they're going to be soon, and when they are, somebody's going to get a right doing.
Yeah, I think over the past few weeks, I do think maybe since Parkhead, the front three haven't been on fire. I think the work outside the box has been really, really good. Getting back, coming outside the box, winning the ball, bringing the midfield into it. There's lots and lots of good positives. Wee bit shot shy, and that's the midfields and the forwards recently. And we could do with some more goals. A second yesterday would have put it to bed completely, and saved heart attacks all round. But you're right. It's a team game, right? And for so long, we would concede daft goals and drop points. I am in no way going to now start slating the forward line because we will start scoring goals. We'll probably start scoring goals next Sunday against Hamilton at Ibrox. We just need to keep on winning, David. It's as simple as that. I'll take 1-0 from now until the end of the season because we'll be the champions.
Andy, successful sides are built on defences, as we all know, but my God, 15 clean sheets already, that is sensational stuff. And I want to pick out Connor Goldson, who I know got a lot of praise, obviously, after the Old Firm game, but I think that we need to pick out the praise for him for his defensive work, because not only has he been excellent, he has been, I think, the leader of that back four. A large part of it is I think he trusts his colleague. I think that he trusts the guy next to him when he's got Hollander or Balogun in a way that he didn't perhaps when he had Katic or Edmondson next to him last season.
No, absolutely. I mean, you never get a one-man defence, and it sounds stupid in a four-man defence with the centre half pair's critical, isn't it? You've got to have a relationship between the two there, and I always thought there was a reason that Gerrard never dropped him. And I think that Goldson was kind of fell foul of the same kind of daftness that we've seen directed at Tavernier, where kind of took for granted his consistency, and then when he makes a mistake, which was rare, but sometimes glaring, that was used as a big stick to beat him with. And I always thought it was totally unfair because when you look at, I mean, you watch football around the world and you see centre halves and what they can do. He's got attributes that are very, very good. He can pass the ball, taking out defence is excellent. Aerially, it's absolutely superb. But I think you were the one, David, that kind of pointed it out to us that given the fact there's no crowd and you can actually hear the players shouting at each other, that Goldson is, without question, a captain without an armband. And the fact that we're reasonably good at offside and organisation, things that you take for granted and you actually don't notice because it happens so frequently, that's probably down to him and him leading the line as such. Helander is a fantastic defender as well, and I think he's top drawer. And that can only help. But something was brewing. I mean, we watched the friendlies in France against, who was it, Nice, and I can't remember who else who played. Who was it? Lyon. And even then, the defence looked mean and driven and well drilled to the point where you're like, another clean sheet. And it was just as if something was brewing. They've carried it on into the actual season. And it's a thing that just breeds and breeds and breeds, that if you get a wee inside track on other teams, an edge, your edge is your defence at this moment in time. So it'll just get better and better, hopefully. We will have off days, we'll have wee aberrations here or there, but we go back to this thing about controlling the game. If you're controlling the game to the point where teams are reduced to set pieces and free kicks round about the box is their best chance of scoring, that's a massive advantage for kick-off, because you're minimising the opportunities they've got right down, and we seem to be doing that more often than not, even in Europe, to be honest, isn't it? Long may it continue.
Sorry, Andy, for butting in. Goldson's, before signing for Rangers, he played 16 games across the previous two years. 16. And I always felt he would probably need a season to get up to speed with Rangers. In his second season, COVID strikes. And, that first season, he was pretty much plopped in with Niko Katic and asked to run with it from the start. Faded away towards the end of the season, maybe unsurprisingly. Last season, it was Katic for a bit. It was Helander for a bit. It was back to Katic. It was a merry-go-round. And this season, we've had the pair of them. Helander and Goldson have a pre-season together. I think Holander's probably the one he trusts the most, David. Balogun's come in and really looked the part as well. And I do think it's just built on trust. That we've also had Stephen Davis with a full pre-season, the same way Ryan Jack, all the rest of it. I just think you're looking at a defensive unit that absolutely trusts one another, and they're happy to chop and change between Goldson and whomever. You look at Helander yesterday, he simply trusts his centre-half to do his job, and that's massive.
Yeah, it's massive, and it's not something that has always been there, unfortunately, over the last few seasons. But I do think it, and of course, good habits. They're picking up clean sheets. They want to keep this record going. They want to get as many as possible. That's what defenders live for. And the more they get, and it's similar to what I said about the more Rangers keep passing little tests, it inspires belief, it inspires confidence, and it's amazing how much more straightforward things can be when you feel good, when you feel confident, when you feel up to it. And I think that we are getting the benefit of that at the moment. In terms of the psychology of the result, Andy, I wasn't kidding at the start when I said, this is one that Rangers fans have been speaking to me about. After good results, people have said to me, aye, but, we'll see after Killie. That'll be the one that tells us where we are. That's why I think it's a big one, because I suspect the players knew that and felt it themselves.
No question, this was a monkey on our back. No question. I mean, as you said at the start, it wasn't just the fact that we were drawing points to these places, it was the fact we were capitulating. They were bubble bursters. Let's look back to Joe Worrell's mistake. We were on fire up to that point. We score a goal with Defoe. Everybody's chirpy because we've just signed him and Davis, and there's belief. And we go into the last half of that game, Killie up the ante. They do what I was saying earlier on about getting physical, getting in our faces, and they kill us. And they don't just kill us in that game; they kill us for that season. Really, they were the ones where when we're saying these are the games that win championships or put you towards the title, they were the games that kill your title challenges, because mentally it certainly shattered the fans. And so you've got to presume that the players themselves have got doubt put in their mind that we can't go to these places and how can we not see it out? And I get, Hoggy, what you were saying about watching it on the TV on Sunday, that, the latter part of the game tended to feel as if we were drifting towards that. And I thought the substitutions were pretty good because we brought in Davis, and Davis had a bit of a stinker when he came on, but we also brought in Balogun, which you could look back and say, well, that's super defensive, but by the same token, it might be a case of just learning. That it was proven to be the right thing to do, whereas if he'd brought in another attacking player and nothing had changed attacking-wise and we lose a goal or we gain up chances up the park, it would have been the wrong decision. So it was a biggie psychologically as much as anything, because we're all sitting here saying, right, this is a good result. It's not just a routine result, and it's not something we took for granted. It was something that we've been craving for quite a while. And I think the manner of it, the fact that we didn't just scoosh it and we didn't just get by, I think the fact was that when we look at it in the cold, hard light of day, we managed the game and we seen it out. And another day, we would have probably scored another goal or two. And Kelly can have no kind of claim to losing out in a point. I think if they got a point, they would have felt very, very lucky, or they should have. So no, big, massive result. Still very early. Go there again, but we've got to be.
Well, maybe.
Aye, true. Belief breeds belief. Just as we're saying, the defence gets belief. The whole team, whole squad, the whole support gets belief.
Andy touches upon a point there. The way the fixtures have worked out this season, Ian, and we're a long, long way to go. There's lots of results. We know that. But we only have to go to Pittodrie one more time. We only have to go to Easter Road one more time. We only have to go to, let's be honest, Kilmarnock or Livingston one more time. And that's our most dangerous games.
Yeah, certainly in recent times it has been. They're in Tynecastle, even though Hearts are in the Championship now. And we've managed our way through them. We've managed our way through them very well, just Hibs and Livingston aside. I can see us going to Livingston I think we'll definitely be back there. And Easter Road, and we'll be itching to set the record straight, one would hope. Let's just look at the here and now, David. I found myself getting carried away last night and then checked myself going, right, what does November and December look like? No, stop it. It's all about the next game or the Europa League, then the next league game. But we have navigated our way through historically hard matches. We've got the results. We've got the clean sheets. We've scored the goals, and proof's in the pudding just now. We're top of the table, 9 points clear. 9 points, fucking hell. Albeit Celtic have got two home games in hand. But then you look forward and I'll break my rule. You look at the games that are coming up. We've got Hamilton and Aberdeen at home, our next two league matches, David, either side of the international break. Celtic are away to Motherwell and then away to Easter Road. They're tough games for Celtic. It's going to be tough games for us, of course, but you expect to win at home. So yeah, we've had that tough away run. We're now going to have those teams at Ibrox, and it's hopefully pointing to a good couple of months, November, December.
All we can really focus on at the moment, Andy, we've got Benfica on Thursday, and that's a big match. We're going to talk about it in a minute. But it's one to be enjoyed, especially after taking 6 points from 6 for the first two Europa League games. It's one of the players, under normal circumstances, obviously, getting to play in that stadium when it was packed out would have been something. But even so, Benfica, big famous European name, the kind of tie you want, top of the table, Europa League group clash. That's the kind of games you want to play in. And the players have earned the right to go there and absolutely, give it everything, but try and get a win. But coming back, Hamilton at home, we maybe as fans would take that lightly. They, as players, can't. Hamilton beat us at Ibrox the last time, obviously, but you couldn't really ask for a better fixture after a European game to then go into a 2-week break.
No, and this is the thing that we're missing about it, especially the Kilmarnock game and then the week before. You're coming off a Thursday, Sunday kind of thing, and that's always a risk to the season because you always get that wee bit of flatness. So the European games for me are free hits. I have been super relaxed watching them because and I don't mean this to sound as if we've got low standards, but this is kind of our level just now. I think if we went to the Champions League, we'd probably get our arse felt quite often, just like Celtic did. But in these games, we have aspirations to get out of the group, and I think we are very much on the road to doing that, because I think if we get anything at all from either Benfica game, I think that might just tip the scales in our favour. So the European games are just for pure enjoyment. I wish we were there, or the rest of it. But if you to ask Bears who they would prefer to see us win against Benfica or Hamilton, I think the answer would probably be Hamilton, wouldn't it? So that's the kind of craziness of Scottish football, that we would turn our nose up at a result away from him and Benfica to beat Hamilton at home. So Hamilton, I don't like teams with plastic pitches, but I tend to like Hamilton because we always tend to beat them, and very, very rarely do they cause us any major problems. So if you had to pick one game to come back to Ibrox to play on the back of a hard away game, it would be Hamilton. And then we've got a wee break, and then we've got Aberdeen, which will be a test because regardless of what they're in, they always manage to fashion a plan of action against us, and very, very stuffy. So Aberdeen will be a toughie as well. January's the hard games. December, we're not looking too far ahead. We keep saying that and then we do it. But November, December, we're on a bit of a roll. There's a bit of momentum. January is an extremely hard month. And I've already heard Celtic fans refer to it as if it's something laying in wait for us, as if they don't have a bad month in their calendar. So, let's enjoy Thursday. Let's play freely. We're actually good at being underdogs now, but we're also good at being the top dogs as well, which is a hard switch to flick, isn't it? So that's maybe something I've struggled with in the past.
It's undoubtedly something we've struggled with in the past. Mirror, mirror on the wall, what is the best brand for my balls? Manscaped, of course. But hold up, is that a nose pube? It's a good thing our partners at Manscaped are here to ensure you're taking care of not only your manhood, but your nose hairs with their new performance package that just launched in the UK. Guys, we're of an age where hair might not necessarily grow where I want it to. You two are all right in that regard. But, for some reason, the hair that should be on my head has decided to come out of my nose and ears. And trust me, youngins, it will happen to you as well. Am I right, Hoggy?
Happens to us all, David. Ear hair, nose hair. All of it's grey and white for me now. Notice I didn't talk about ball hair. But, hey, if it needs trim, David...
That's it. The young folks, as I found out when we did these adverts in the past, the young folks with their balls, and they like their balls to be like snooker balls these days. Just utterly hairless and gleaming, and they put all like powders and stuff on it. But for me, certainly, I don't like nose and ear hair. So I was delighted because I'm quite fond of my downstairs brush, but certainly I don't like, and it bloody hurts when you're trying to pull one out. If you're going into a meeting, and I have done this in the past where I've noticed, a nose hair, went to pull it out, and then gone out of the meeting with tears streaming from my eyes. But the Manscaped Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle, including in the new package is what they call the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, which is waterproof and uses the same 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual blade system as the downstairs trimmer. The nose and ear trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology which helps prevent nicks, snags and tugs in those delicate holes. And we are all about the delicate holes. 79% of partners admitted that long nose hair is a major turn-off. So use the best tools for the job here. You can get 20% off and free shipping with the code Rangers at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code Rangers. So what are you waiting for? Go whack your weeds and make sure your balls look great during the process. Oh, and before anybody complains, it was the huge level of success of the first lot of these that inspired the company to come back. So don't blame me. Look down at your shiny hairless balls, and that's why they came back to us, because apparently a lot of Heart and Hand listeners are walking about with no concern at all, Andy, about catching a chill down there.
It's a modern way, and I think there would be no better treat for your missus or mister for that partner, because we're
absolutely
hand. And if you dropped your drawers and let them behold that you've shaved number 7 Hadji into your pubes.
Who hasn't, Andy, in the past, who hasn't had a couple of drinks and thought, I know what I'll do.
Yeah.
I'll take the bick to my bollocks. Let's be safe, folks. Manscaped.com.
Well, that's the good thing about it. It's very safe. Anyway, let's move on. Hoggy, Thursday night, Benfica away. Andy is right. It's, strangely, probably not the most important, to the fans anyway, game of the week. But Benfica Rangers, that's a proper European game.
There's a proper Champions League game, David. And that's what I'm enjoying about Europe. Enjoyed it last season, enjoying it this season. And we know that we'll go there and we've got a chance. I mean, Benfica, they spent a lot of money. Portuguese football is invariably strong. But we went to Portugal last year to play Porto, and we came away with a good result. There's no reason why we can't go to Lisbon and come away with a similarly good result. I'll take a draw right now and we'll not even go and we'll say no more about it. That would be fine. But versus the nerves that I felt in the last 15 minutes yesterday, David, Lisbon will be a breeze because it is a free hit. We started so well, 6 points out of 6. We can go there and give them a game. Absolutely. We know that we'll set up right. We know that we'll set up to look to counter-attack. We'll want to hold the ball. We'll want to have pace in behind them down the channels. We can go there and we can get a result. Whether we will is up for grabs. But we go there with a good amount of confidence. Christ, you look, 18 games, 16 wins, 2 draws, 15 clean sheets. We can't go there and not have confidence. Really looking forward to it.
Andy, I think we might see a few changes when it comes to Sunday. No disrespect to Hamilton Accies, but we do have good players, and the likes of Jermaine Defoe showed that he's got a good record against Hamilton as well, incidentally. But he's an option that he's not going to travel. He's not in the European squad. I strongly suspect, incidentally, that Jordan Jones might have got a start, but decided to go to a party instead. But yeah, we do have the ability to say to some of the players, not all, because some will have to play both games, but empty it on Thursday night and then you'll have Sunday off.
Aye, and I mean, it's very easy to forget where we've been and where we are now, because this squad is totally, it's luxury compared to where we were even 2-3 years ago. We've got the luxury of taking Roof, Cedric Eaton for that matter, and letting them, and Hadji for another one, and letting them breathe, letting them bleed into becoming Rangers players, because I think in days gone by we'd have paid money for Roof, Hadji, Eaton, and they would have had to have been, and they would have had the expectation placed upon them to be instant hits and contribute immediately. And what we've got just now, probably because we've not got many injuries also, we've got the ability to let these guys come in, breathe, and kind of feel their way into becoming Rangers players. And when you look at Barisic, for example, and how long it took him to really crack being a Rangers player, I don't think it can be understated how hard it is for players to come from a different environment and meet the expectations that are placed upon them. I think the crowds not being there is helping. I've got to be honest. I think the crowds on Sunday would have been a hindrance as opposed to a benefit, if I'm being really honest. And I think in a couple of games at home this season, Ross County springs to mind that the second half would have been far more fraught with tension if the crowd was in there. These kind of things are going in our favour at the moment. Defoe, what would we have said a couple of years ago if somebody said to you, well, you're going to have Defoe, but you'll keep him at the European squad because you'll keep him for domestic games? What the hell? I mean, it's just unheard of. So I think we'll mix it up a wee bit on Sunday. And I would probably say Roof, maybe Eaton. I think you might see them start. But again, there's Defoe. He might play through the middle as well. We've got so many options just now. It's quite it's really heartening.
I'm calling it now, Defoe to play and get at least a double, Hoggy.
Again, wouldn't surprise me at all. I would imagine we'll look to get minutes into Roof's legs as well. And I genuinely don't care who scores as long as we score more goals in Hamilton, win the game and put it to bed hopefully pretty early.
Well, Cammy will have a fuller preview of that on Friday night. Obviously, we'll know a lot more after Thursday night, how the team have played. He'll have a review of the Benfica game. I would just like to thank our executive producers in London, Mike Lee and Paul Myers. I should probably switch that a bit this time of year. I shouldn't have to Mike Myers, but we'll just go with the real names. And to thank my two guests this evening. First of all, Andy McGowan.
Pleasure as always, David. Thank you.
And Ian Hogg.
Pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me on.
If you want to hear more from Heart and Hand, please visit our Patreon site. It's patreon.com/Heart and Hand. Some amazing contributions over there at the moment and a wonderful community to be a part of, especially I think a lot of people have found that comfort during this tough time. If you go, it's patreon.com/Heart and Hand, and from just £1.99 per month, you will be able to access hours and hours of content on all things Rangers related. We cracked the 5,000 mark last week. I'm very proud of that, and I'd like to thank everyone for supporting us on our journey. Thank you very much for listening. Cammy will be with you on Friday. I'll be back next Monday. Until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you then. Take care. Bye-bye.